I I have a lot of respect for Tom Harwood, who I think is one of the best things on GB News. It's not saying a great deal, we might add, but nevertheless, he asked with considerable exasperation today where the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, believes in anything at all. And the catalyst was Starmer's striking U-turn on immigration language, specifically his so-called island of strangers remark, which he now deeply regrets using. This controversy is more than an isolated embarrassment. It goes to the heart of the Labour leader's credibility, his political method, and his capacity to hold authority in turbulent times. In May, Starmer gave a speech on immigration, warning that Britain risked becoming an island of strangers if immigration was not better controlled, and critics immediately noted the phrase and its uncanny echo of Enoch Powell's notorious Rivers of Blood speech, in which Powell warned of Britons becoming strangers in their own country. The reaction was swift and fierce. Some on the left, including MPs from the Labour Party, condemned the speech as pandering to anti-immigrant sentiment. Others worried it showed Labour chasing Reform UK's rhetoric in fear of losing working-class votes. But perhaps most damaging was Starmer's later apology. In an Observer interview, he said he deeply regretted the phrase. He blamed poor preparation, even suggesting he read it half distracted after an alleged arson attack on his family home. He neither claimed he nor his speechwriters knew of its resonance with Powell's speech. In other words, ignorance. And Tom Harwood's criticism broadcast on GB News was unrelenting. He asked, does our Prime Minister believe anything at all? He pointed out the absurdity of issuing a U-turn not only on policies such as on disability benefits this week, but also on the words a Prime Minister uses about migration. He mocked the idea that a carefully drafted, vetted speech could contain a phrase with such obvious historical baggage without anyone noticing. Harwood's colleague, Emily Carver, was even more scathing. She called these rhetorical U-turns pathetic, arguing that Starmer should have stuck to what he said if he truly believed it. And their anger rests on one clear accusation, that Starmer is not merely cautious or pragmatic, but hollow, that he will say anything to anyone, then disown it when convenient. To be fair to the Prime Minister, he offered a personal defence. He claimed he was in a poor state of mind because of the attack on his family home. He said he simply read out the speech without giving it enough scrutiny, but this defence has been described by his own allies as weak and outrageous. Some accused him of throwing his aides under the bus. A senior government source reportedly said that they were too angry even to speak publicly about it. Meanwhile, Home Secretary Yvette Cooper tried to shield him, arguing that the speech was completely different from Powell's and that people focused too much on a single isolated phrase rather than Labour's actual policy. But the damage is clear. Labour MPs in Parliament, such as Nadia Whittome, condemned the speech's rhetoric as scapegoating immigrants and warned it would stoke division. John McDowell, no friend of Starmer's leadership, highlighted how ministers must use language carefully to avoid precisely these controversies. And Tom Harwood's question is not mere sensationalism. Harwood strikes at the deep vulnerability in Starmer's leadership. And since becoming Labour leader, Starmer has presented himself as pragmatic, cautious and forensic, a man of law who would avoid the ideological indulgences of Corbyn's era. But what Harwood and many others are now accusing him of is something much worse: opportunism without principle. In his first year as Prime Minister, Starmer has overseen numerous U-turns on green investment targets, on welfare reforms, now on immigration rhetoric, and at every turn critics ask if there is any consistent vision. Now, of course, the U-turn is not necessarily a bad thing. Mrs. Thatcher U-turned and U-turned as if she was spinning on a dime. But even Starmer's loyalists privately grumble about an overly cautious, reactive approach designed to avoid offending anyone, a strategy that paradoxically ends up offending everyone. So does Sir Keir Starmer believe in anything? That's the question his opponents, left, right and media, are pressing hard. Tom Harwood's analysis, while polemical, is not without merit. It highlights a profound problem for Labour. If its leader cannot convincingly articulate what he believes Why should voters trust him? If Starmer wants to lead for the long term, he will need to do more than apologise for careless words. He must show that behind their tactical manoeuvring, there is something solid, coherent and worth following. For a Prime Minister, credibility is not an optional accessory. It is the price of power.